Garrett has released new firmware updates for all 3 Vortex detector models. As always, these updates are free and available for download using your Garrett Updater software. On screen, you will see the firmware update available for each of the Vortex models. Each Vortex model will benefit from significant firmware improvements. Let's quickly run through the most significant improvements. Then, to further demonstrate a couple of the enhancements, we'll show you some video we filmed during the past few days while testing the new firmware. All 3 Vortex models have improvement to reaction speed for faster recovery and separation of adjacent targets, especially for large targets like a soda can adjacent to smaller targets. Greater distinction between recovery speeds 1, 2, and 3. Further refinement of iron filters, including iron boundary and bottle cap reject. Vortex users will benefit from better unmasking of good targets hidden in iron trash. Increased detection depth for single frequencies and multi-salt mode. And for the VX9 model, Garrett has added a new feature, an adjustable breakpoint two-tone mode. This two-tone option is especially useful to relic hunters and silver cherry pickers who want to hear everything but want a simple good versus bad indication. Now, to demonstrate some of this, I've got a test board laid out here with a handful of targets. First, I've got a bottle cap, I've got a gold ring, I've got a pull tab, then I've got a small silver coin. What I'll do first is to show you a simple way to use the two-tone, the cherry pickers mode, where you just set your good versus bad, decide what's good and what's bad, and then I'll show you a more complex way that you can use this new two-tone mode. Okay, I'm in multi-frequency and 0. So I have nothing discriminated. So I'll show you the simple method first. I go to my tones. I'm going to select the two-tone mode. And when I go over this, initially, everything, since there's no discrimination, is going to have a high tone. Bottle cap, ring, pull tab, and silver coin. Now, to change where that break is, to make things bad, I can adjust my low tone. So what I want to do is go to my high-res iron discrim, and normally with your Vortex you can run that as high as 39. I'll show you that real quick. That would be as high as you can normally run it. What you'll see in this two-tone mode is everything 0 to 39 is a half bar in height. That means it's been converted to a low tone when I'm in this two-tone mode. Now, I can also continue to go higher while I'm in two-tone, and I can run this as high as I want, up to the point of 81 if I wanted to go that high. And I could come back a little bit if I want to maybe keep that little silver diamond play and not worry about it being on edge. So let's say I've got 78. What I've done in effect is I've converted everything to low tone all the way across the bottom ferrous scale and across the central non-ferrous scale up to my high 70s break point. Everything is going to have a low tone up to that point, which means my little silver coin at the end should still have a high tone. This is for a silver hunter that's on a trashy side or an old scrape lot and they just want to pick silver coins out. Okay, so let's run back over these targets now that we've set this iron break tone in there. Bottle cap, the ring, those don't sound good. I've run this up very high. Pull tab doesn't sound good, but I'm still able to pick out that little silver coin. So again, that's running it up to a very high level. That's the simple way, the cherry picker's way of just finding silver using this two-tone mode. So with the two-tone, we showed you the simple method of simply running up a high level of your low tone to get rid of all the undesired targets and still keep your silver in play. Now, a more advanced way to run this, you can set your own notch disc pattern in here and convert certain segments to low tone, things you don't want to dig. So let me show you an example on that, and I'll show you what I'm going to set up here on the screen. When I go in my menu, I've still got my iron disc set at a high level. That's where we had our break point. I'm going to run this back down into the high 30s like you'd normally have, where you can't go above 39. So let's say that's my point there. And when I go back over a target, I'm digging in the park, I'm hitting the pull tab like this. I don't really want to dig, and I still want to hit my silver over here. So what I want to do in my two-tone is go in here and I'll go to my notch disc. And I'll go over there and let me eliminate that pull tab. I'll put in a couple of pixels there. Let's see if that gets it. Okay, I've pretty much converted that to a low tone. I can still get my silver coin. Over here, I'm still getting my gold ring. But as I'm going through the park, I'm hitting a bunch of these bottle caps. I'm digging those. I don't like them. That hit on the upper tricky scale. So again, I'll use my notch disc, and I can go in there on that, and I just need to navigate up to the top and put in a couple of blocks of discrim. I believe that's about where it was hitting. So you can see I've got discrim there, I've got discrim there for the pull tabs, and I've got a bunch of iron discrimmed out there. That means all those are going to be low tones. So let's see how this acts now on these targets. Bottle cap sounds bad. Still digging my gold rings. I've made these pull tabs go to a low tone, and I'm not going to miss my silver coins. So that's the value of the two-tone here, where you can selectively set it, put in as much as you want, or set just very discrete blocks and notch out things that you want to make sound bad and keep the things you want to find sounding good. One final note about the use of two-tone, something I really like, is you've set up your pattern. We've gone through that. You can also adjust the volume of the undesired targets. So I'll show you on the screen what we're going to do with that. So go to your menu and scroll back down to your iron volume. I've got it at a high level for this demonstration. I'm going to reduce it. As a relic hunter, or even hunting in the park like this, a lot of times I want to hear the iron, I want to hear the trash to find an old house site or to know where good stuff might be hidden, but I can reduce the things that I've made low tone. So let's go back over a couple of these things we knocked out. That pull tab's there, I can hear that trash, but my desired silver coin's still a great target. Reduced volume, strong volume wherever I set it on my desired targets, and trash like that again's reduced. So the new two-tone option on the Vortex VX9 is a powerful tool for some detectorists. Those that want to use it, you can actually go in there and set it any way you want. I could make all targets high tone, I could make all targets low tone, or any combination in between. I can decide what's good and what's bad and what volume I want the good and the bad to sound off on. Just another example of Vortex versatility. This new Vortex firmware is really impressive for iron unmasking. We'll show you some of the iron boundary controls here. I've got a test board here, and I've laid out a variety of challenging ferrous targets, iron targets you might encounter in the field. We'll show those to you here real quick. Have a very large square nail, have a rusty iron screw, have a hunk of iron pipe, and then I have an iron bolt down there. So I've got my ferrous targets laid out down the length of this board. I'm going to work my way down it, and you'll hear each target independently. If I was swinging the other direction, they might influence each other with the back swing. So this will be a cleaner approach. Okay, I'm running zero mode and multi-frequency. And I go in here and no bottle cap reject, and my iron boundaries at 0. So let's walk over these real quick, and I'll show you how the iron boundary settings are already pretty robust just out of the gate. That large square nail already sounds bad. If I change orientations to the trickiest orientation, I get an occasional blip on it, but it's really a bad target already. Now here's our rusty screw. Reads pretty good. Big rusty pipe section. Reads good in multi-frequency. And this little bolt already reads pretty bad. Now what I'll do is I'll show you there's a trickier orientation for this. If this thing happened to be in the ground where it was in a stand-up position like that, it becomes a much more difficult ferrous target. So now it sounds good. So let's step back and let's put some iron boundary in play here. Run back over this and see how these targets do. First one still sounds terrible. The screw's starting to break up a little bit, getting some bouncy numbers, getting a few pings on the lower ferrous scale, but it's still decent. That's still a tough one. That's a very tough target. and so is that one. So let's go back and really crank up our iron boundary and go back over these again. First target sounds terrible. The screw now sounds really bad too. Big hunk of pipe sounds terrible also. And even that really challenging orientation on that bolt sounds bad. So I went down the length of the board so the targets wouldn't influence each other, but now that I've cranked up my iron boundary, I've knocked out all 4 of these challenging targets. I'll actually go down this way and show you. They all sound bad. So with Vortex's improved iron controls, you can use the level of iron boundary you need to overcome trash and ferrous targets, including tricky ones like this. Use only the amounts you need to overcome the challenge you face. These important firmware updates are part of Garrett's ongoing commitment to making a great product like Vortex even more powerful. In order to get the best performance out of your Vortex, it is highly recommended that you take a few minutes to make these free updates. Should you need any help, please consult your local dealer or reach out to Garrett Customer Service.